Hey everyone, it's Corleone here, and I am here with episode 2 of Halloween Horror Movie Reviews 5. And today's episode is going to be for the other J-horror remake I'm reviewing. That is 2004's The Grudge, directed by the guy who also directed the original film, Takashi Shimizu. So what's the plot of The Grudge? An American nurse named Karen Davis, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, moves to Tokyo and encounters a supernatural spirit who is vengeful and possesses its victims. A series of horrifying, mysterious deaths start to occur, the spirit passing its curse on to each victim that enters the house. Karen must now find a way to break the spell before she becomes its next victim. Yep, so that's the plot of The Grudge. So, when it came to doing the American remake, because The Grudge was a Japanese horror film called Ju-On, The Grudge, from 2002. The director of the original film, Takashi Shimizu, was hired to direct the American remake. And a screenplay by Devian Susko and Sam Raimi would produce it through a new company at the time called Ghost House Pictures. That's become a notorious horror company now, alongside Robert Tepper and Takashi Ashis. So filming began on January 26, 2004, and reshoots will occur in July 2004 in Tokyo, Japan. Sarah Michelle Gellar had filmed her scenes in Tokyo within 3 months before she returned for the reshoots. Yeah. And it also became the first installment of an American film series, and apparently this does also star some of the actors from the original movie, and you also got Sarah Michelle Gellar and Bill Pullman in the film as well. And the plot of this movie, guys, it's told through a non-linear sequence of events and has several intersecting subplots. So, keep in mind, guys, this is a film that, it kind of, goes all over the place. It kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense, in a way. It's a non-linear film. But The Grudge was released in North America by Sony on October 22nd, 2004, literally a week before Saw came out. And at the box office, much like The Ring, it also made a massive profit because it made over $187 million worldwide on a $10 million budget. But unlike The Ring, which got positive reviews, this got mixed. Now, as for my reaction to the movie, well, I think of all the ones that did badly try to cash in on The Ring success, I personally think this film was kind of the closest it got to doing so. I think the movie's good, but not really great per se, but just watchable good. Probably one of the last good demonic monster movies for a while. The Grudge is kind of a haunted house movie. No, I've also not seen the original Ju-On yet, but I am familiar with it because of this movie. The beginning of the film does, and also this film, apparently much like the original, is also set in Japan. Right there. And you got the original director. And you got most of the original crew involved. So, it's an American remake, but it's not set in America. It's set in Japan as well. Anyway, so there's something at least nice. You at least still got the original crew involved in this version of the movie. You even get reference to Japanese culture, about rage and stuff, and the non-linear screenplay works reasonably well. But it could be better because the non-linear stuff is a little confusing when you watch the movie. The main theme of this movie is that this negative force inhabits a place after someone has died a violent death, and this negative force consumes anyone who touches the place and where the violent act occurred. It's not really a new idea, and what people believe are ghosts, in fact, they're just leftover energy with such traumatic events. This decently frightening movie, it displays terror, shocks, hard-edged drama, creepy images, the look is suitable, atmospheric, and eerie, and the argument stretches plausibility to the breaking point. It is directed by the guy who wrote and directed the original movie, and it's produced by Sam Raimi. And you have the much clearer, smoother narration. The atmosphere is eerie, dark, and foreboding. The Japanese cityscape in the background, it's not really that appealing here, but the backstory and interior setting, they did get a bit of my attention with the film. The fascination with the sinister dead woman with the ghostly or the sticky, jerky movements, the cracking limbs, and the facial expression, those are such haunting moments to watch. This is very haunting moments. Like, so guys, this is a non-linear movie. So how do we start it? Well, it's a non-linear movie, so the events, like, I'm about to mention, like, they're the scenes that do take place. Apparently, the scenes I mentioned are the scenes that take place in chronological order during the stuff they're sent, like, right here. Like, but the film is presented in a non-linear narrative, but here's kind of like how, technically, apparently the movie does start in chronological order. Like, I'll explain. The Grudge guys, like, when you watch the movie, it's a curse that's born when someone dies, in rage or sorrow, and lingers where the person dies. Those who encounter it die, and the curse is reborn repeatedly. It passes from victim to victim in an endless growing chain of horror. So, in chronological order, we start off in 2001. A woman named Kyle Seki, who is a housewife in Tokyo, is in love with her college professor Peter Kirk, who obsessively writes about him in a diary. Her jealous husband, Takeo, discovers the diary and believes Kayeko is having an affair. So in a fit of rage, he murders her, their younger son, Toshio, their pet cat, Mar, and after Takeo hides the bodies in the house, Kayeko's ghost hangs him with her hair. And then, after receiving a letter from Kayeko, Peter visits the Seki house, only finds her and Taiko's corpses and Toshio's ghost. So, that's Bill Pullman. That's Bill Pullman's character, guys. He is shocked and horrified, and he flees the scene, and the next day he commits suicide. The suicide is what the scene that does actually start off the movie. Then the remainder of the Seki family rises again as restless ghosts due to the curse, and it'll be Kayeko who appears as on Rio. Yeah. So the scene starts off with a suicide. That's the first scene you see in the movie when you do watch the movie. That's the real scene that does start off the film. The scene where Bill Pullman's character is kind of investigating the house, kind of like takes place around the finale of the movie. And I mention that because it's a non-linear film. One of the most striking aspects of The Grudge, to some people, is the non-linear narrative structure. It has this sense of disorientation. It does kind of add to the sense of disorientation and dread, but to me it is a little confusing on first watch. For the series of like Vignettes, like, it reveals the tragic events that led to the creation of this curse called The Grudge. It keeps viewers on the edge of their seats as they piece together the puzzle. The scares are well crafted. They rely on atmospheric tension than just cheap jump scares, like today's movies do. From eerie ghostly apparitions or spine-tingling sound design, like The Grudge creates a sense of unease that lingers after the credits roll. In addition to all the horror elements, like The Grudge benefits with strong performances from Sarah Michelle Gellar, who brings depth and vulnerability to the role as Karen. The supporting cast delivers solid performances, and they add to the film's sense of authenticity. And also, like, apparently from what I've heard, like, some of the actors from the original also reprise their roles in this, and plus it's also directed by the guy who directed the original film, which once again, I have not seen. I think I do need to watch it. Now I do need to honestly watch the originals. So tell me how the original Ju-on is in the comments down below. So you still have like most of the cast in the original and the director of the original for the remake. So I guess that is important. If you're going to do a remake, you make sure most of the original team is involved. Right there. And it's still got the Japan setting, so it doesn't just shift its setting to America. The story's a little shaky and sometimes difficult to follow, but the scares didn't make up for that, though. Like, with the cuts, like, it's an average horror. Without the cuts, it's a brilliant horror movie. It has a perfect balance of suspense, scares, and gore. So after our first scene in 2001, how it takes place in chronological order, we get to the 3 years later, 2004. An American family called the Williams family. They move into the Seki house for Matt's new job. Matt is thrilled with the house, but his wife Jennifer and dementia-ridden mother Emma, they are uncomfortable because of the former experiencing cultural shock and feeling lost as she can't speak Japanese. And the latter seeing that something is wrong with the house. The curse then quickly consumes Matt and Jennifer. Jennifer, like, within, like, their first week. Right there. And that's where you, like, get the... Pretty much how the scene goes is where Jennifer gets consumed by the ghost. Matt comes home from his job. He sees Matt lying in her bed unconscious. And then Toshio, the ghost, like, makes that wow cat noises. Startles him. He, like, falls. And then the curse then consumes him too. Like a pretty... I think I remember seeing a clip of that at Blockbuster. Like, when Blockbuster Video happened, you'd see trailers for movies that were now on a DVD playing on the TVs while you were browsing the store. One of them was was like a little snippet for this movie. And it was that scene right there. Like, they advertised, like, Juwan, they advertised this version. Yeah, I definitely remember seeing that scene, like, I thought that was a scene from the original Grudge, but apparently this is a scene from the remake. Right here. So then, of course, Matt's sister Susan also gets haunted by the curse and follows her back into her apartment. Yoko, a care worker, goes to the house to find Emma alone before she encounters Kayako, who drags Yoko up into the attic. So, Alex, Yoko's employer, is concerned about her disappearance and so sends another care worker, another American, who is Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, Karen Davis, to take over the care of Emma. So, Karen discovers Toshio sealed up in the wardrobe of the house after hearing some cat noises from there, and witnesses Kayoko's spirit descending from the ceilings to claim Emma. Then, Alex, the employer, arrives at the house and finds Emma dead and Karen in shock. Alex calls the police. They come with Detective Nakagawa, and so when they act, Nakagawa and his partner Igarashi, they find Matt and Jennifer's bodies and a human's lower jaw. Then Susan later gets pursued by Kayako around her office building after being haunted by the curse as well. Then when Susan gets home, Kayako attacks her and she vanishes. Then, when Alex is leaving work, he gets killed by Yoko's jawless corpse, which is the jawless woman scene, and Kayako begins to haunt Karen and informs her boyfriend Doug of the whole situation. Like when it comes to the acting in this movie, Sarah Michelle Gellar is the one who handles most of the acting in this film. Like, succeeds in looking horrified, frightened the moment she enters the Forbidden House. Menacing spirits are like hiding in every shadow. Bill Pullman, for like the little scenes he has like this opening moments where the suicide bits, and then kind of disappears when he like comes back in a scene that apparently takes place before the suicide. That Sarah Michelle Gellar is able to see, and when they do turn around, it looks like they see. It kind of does look like they kind of see each other, but they actually don't. Like, she's witnessing how the whole thing started, right there. So yeah, you don't really, after the opening scene with the suicide, you don't see him again until the finale, where you kind of see how the whole thing started. And director Shimizu, he does a decent job with this remake. There are some jump moments and some older than dirt, like with the cat noises or like jumping to frame or telephone ringing and tense moments. They do work and they're pretty fun moments. Like, there's some creepy imagery of the ghosts. Like this was a film that when it came out, like, a lot of people say people had nightmares watching it. A lot of people said they had nightmares watching this when they first saw the movie. When I first saw the movie, I wasn't really freaked out by it, but there were some. But honestly, like, rewatching it now, like, the finale does really make me startle. And I'll get to the finale part in a little bit. Like, and no, I've not seen the unrated cut. I know there's an unrated cut, but this is the version I'm talking about is this theatrical one I'm holding right here. Like, this is pretty decently well-made moments, some nice long sustained scenes of gore. Some I guess, scenes of light gore. The Grudge is a film that goes for scarce atmosphere instead of CGI, and that's nice. Like, the sound effects that accompanies the ghosts are quite unsettling, and like the creepy little creaking sound is very haunting, one of the scariest sounds in horror. And with a budget of like $10 million, like, The Grudge is not a mega budget film. And since it's like came out after the success of The Ring, like, this is a film that, because of the shot of the hand popping out of Sarah Michelle Gellar's head in the shower, that scene in the trailer, like, the trailer just prompted people to immediately go see the film, and you can kind of see why this film made almost $40 million on its opening weekend. And why it quickly kind of got a franchise. But, like, the sequels, like, The Grudge 2, I remember watching, and I thought it sucked. Because The Grudge 2, unlike this film that went by quicker, The Grudge 2 just felt too slow, way more confusing, too boring. Oh, and do I forget this? If you love Sarah Michelle Gellar in this movie, guys, you guys are going to fucking hate the sequel. Because the sequel pulls the Alien 3 on her ass. In the first scene she's in. Alien 3's her. So much for bringing her back. Another thing about this movie, like this, like that, I like that they did not take this to America. They didn't change the location to make it more American. No, what they did here is they actually kept it in Japan, right there. So I really like that as well. They didn't change the location; they kept the original location. The spirit's motivation for killing does get explained at the beginning of the film in this brief written prologue, and like, which is when someone dies, a grip of a powerful rage and curse is left behind. Like, for it may seem a little unusual that the two main ghosts and antagonists were innocent victims of a violent death themselves and would cause the death of another innocent person, but oh well, like in many other like Western ghost stories, like ghosts, like despite their spookiness, get motivated by the things as like living people that pursue justice or wrongdoing. So the ghost of a person is going to seek vengeance on the person or persons responsible for their death. Here, these ghosts, like no, these ghosts don't care if you're innocent at all. They immediately kill you to make you part of the whole curse and pass on the curse to more people. These guys don't care about innocence. It's not their. They're not those kind of ghosts. So now we get on with our finale of the movie, where pretty much after Karen's in shock and leaves the hospital, she begins her research of the whole house, then confronts Nakagawa, who explains that the curse consumed three of his colleagues, investigating the Seki deaths. Then, Nakagawa that night puts gasoline into the house to burn it down, but he gets killed by Takeo. Then Kara races there after letting Doug venture to the Seki house to look for her. And that's where she kind of like sees, that's where she sees how like the whole events like how Bill Pullman's suicide scene in the beginning of the movie started off. Right there, like there. It looks like, and it's a little nice shot moment where it kind of looks like they do kind of see each other, but they can't really see each other. At first, it does kind of look like it, and looks like it, but technically the house is possessed. So she's kind of seeing how the house is kind of showing her how this whole thing started. Right there. It kind of started off with Bill Pullman's character seeing the house, seeing Toshio's ghost. And then, of course, they got the background bit where Toshio does the cat sound while Bill Pullman is staring out the window. Right there, like there's some well shot moments with Bill Pullman's character. So I really like that bit where it's kind of a nice little twist where it kind of does look like they kind of spot one another, but they can't actually see one another. They still can't see one another though, and it does kind of look like they do. I think that's a pretty well done scene right there. And so we saw like Bill Pullman, like Starling leaving the house, seeing all the evidence right there. So then we get back to where the scene is really happening, where Karen then finds Doug paralyzed. She tries to flee with him, but then, of course, Karen hears a sound, and then you hear the sound. And, like, then, when you see the corner, you see Kayako making the sound and twitching her arms, crawling down the fucking stairs. Literally. With her, like, twitching limbs and her sound all the way down, going even, like, just twitching all the fucking way down. Like, I kid you not, that whole fucking scene scared the shit out of me first watch. Like, such an unsettling moment right there. Like, the music that plays in the background, when she's just getting closer and closer, the death rattle gets louder and louder as she gets more down the stairs. Fuck. So she gets down the stairs, latches onto Doug, who dies of shock. Like, yeah. This stairwell scene is easily one of the scary scenes of the 2000s. From the score, the shots, the effects, the drawing the technique Kayako uses, the creaking death sound as she's crawling down, just getting faster and faster. She gets closer to the bottom. Like, this is such a terrifying finale. The film, like, the scares in the film, they're decent, but the ending right here is where the scares start to get fucking terrifying. Right here. So, like, shit, like, this is where shit gets terrifying. Like, really. When Kayako closes in, Karen then sees the gasoline that ignites it. And then, like, when she lights the fire, like, Kayako grabs onto her, is about to get really close to her. But then she lights the whole house on fire with the gasoline and her lighter. Karen survives the whole ordeal and is then in the hospital. But once Karen's at the hospital, though, she sees that the house survived the fire. And Doug has died. So Karen, like, sees Doug's body alone in the hospital room. And then, of course, she sees like the ghostly Kayako pale hand limping down. But then she sees like it's a normal hand. But then, of course, that's where she realizes Kayako is still haunting her. The curse is passed on to her. And then, of course, you get the creaking death sound. And you pretty much get this pretty much kind of get the cover scene right here. And that's it. The last shot of her eye is the last shot you see. And the movie is over. Right there. It pretty much shows that there is no stop to this curse. And there is no escape to this curse. Escape from this curse. But even though it looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar likely dies off screen after the end of this film, they bring her back for the sequel to... It seems like, no, maybe she survived the sequel. No, they do the Halloween Resurrection and they kill her off still anyway. So if that was the case, why didn't you just kill her off in this movie then? If that was the case. Could have just did that. So that you wouldn't have us hyped to see her back in a sequel where she just dies the very first scene you see her anyway. So that was pointless to do. But yeah, like, it was just... The Grudge is a decent movie, but in short, guys, like, The Grudge just... I feel like The Grudge only worked as just a one-trick pony. If it was just a one concept, it would be fine. I think we just could have had one installment of these movies. We just needed one Grudge movie. Same with The Ring. The American remake of The Ring. We only needed one Ring movie. Period. And I get The Grudge 2 has fans, but I don't like it. And I didn't bother with The Grudge 3. And apparently, from what I heard, the rest don't get any better. So I don't think I really should bother with the others. But I have seen the sequel, and I think it really sucks. And I think it almost just ruins everything great about the original film. Yeah, like the creaking death sound, like it's creepy in this, and they kind of explain it in the sequel, and it loses its effect. Right there, that's one bad quality I have. So yeah, here come the bad qualities of the film. And why I think like the film's not like great, but it's watchably good. For instance, like, there's just not much of a story. Most of the film, like, it's really just some people die from a curse, and then some other people die from the curse. It's kind of just one scare after another with, like, not really much character development or plot. It's, like, because The Grudge is, like, a non-linear film. It's like a series of creepy vignettes just strung together just to kind of make a film. And, like, yeah, during, like, the first bits where Yoko encounters this woman in the attic, that was kind of a crap moment. The makeup was pretty bad, too. There's some not really subtle enough scenes. Like, it's not, like... I kind of like it better if there was, like, more suspense and less confrontation. Like, as in, like, monster lurking around stuff, and... Sometimes, like, it would even work better. There were sometimes when you didn't see the evilness. Like, if you didn't see much of the evilness, if you didn't see, like, if you kind of didn't see most of the evilness till, like, the very end of the film, then it probably would be a little more effective. Right there. Right there. And, like, some of the chills and scares are kind of subtle, or the usual boos. They're not door slams, but they are usual boo or subtle moments, but... The scare that does affect me is the stair scene at the end of the movie. And, like, the ending was a bit of a cop-out. Because it ends with the usual, yeah, let's leave the door open for a shitty sequel we'll make. Yeah, that's how it ends. Right there. But overall, The Grudge, it's a pretty passable horror film. I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but it's not a bad movie either. So in the end, I would stream The Grudge if you enjoyed the Ring remake and want an American remake of a Japanese horror film that has most of the original crew involved and keeps the original location. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of The Grudge. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Grudge, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are looking for one other J-horror remake that has the majority of the original movie's crew involved and want a ghost monster horror film that would give you some nice tension, then I would totally stream The Grudge, because while it is kind of enjoyable, it still does have quite a few problems. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Grudge, I'm going to give The Grudge a 6 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for The Grudge. Now you're wondering, what's going to be our next episode? Our next episode is going to be we're going back to the gory horror now. Now you guys made it through some 2J horror remakes, we can go back to the gory horror you're hoping to see me do. And what's it going to be? Well, it involves a house, and it involves a collecting guy. No, it's not Don't Breathe. It's for an actually good one. It's one from 2009, the end of the 2000s decade. That film is going to be for one of my personal favorite horror movies of the 2000s, The Collector. And after that, the even better sequel, The Collection. Oh yeah. I'm going to have so much fun rewatching this tomorrow. This is one of my favorite horror movies of the 2000s, and one of my favorite horror films of all time. I absolutely love both these films. Until then, guys, that will be it for this review and episode. Thank you all for watching, and if you'd like to want to see more, then don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.